Whoa, hey now. What's happening? Delicious. Coffee today, courtesy of the boy and the bear. Just delicious. Just delicious. Absolutely scrumptious. What are we all doing out there? Got my Groon t-shirt on. Groon guitars. Got that last time I was in Nashville. Let's dive right in here. Question from Paul. Finally setting up a legit home studio. Honest recommendation, not necessarily the least expensive, on a computer, interface, mic pre, outboard. Well, I would say computer. I mean, I've been looking at a Mac Studio. Everybody's advising me to wait because, like, you know, the latest. Everybody's talking about the M4 chip for Apple. You know, the latest incarnation of their M chips or whatever. There's only an M2 Mac Studio. So for whatever reason, they haven't brought out an M3 version of it, the latest and the greatest, right? So everybody's like, wait until they do, because otherwise you're going to get a last generation computer. I'm sort of the mind that I don't really care. Maybe not the best advice, but they're so powerful anyway that, like, what are you going to use it? I mean, it's if they're selling it now, this is my experience with Macs. Every year there's something new. They're always bringing out something else. And I've bought a lot over the years. I mean, over the last 20, 25 years buying Macs. They last about 7 or 8 years. And then it's like now the one that you're seeing me speak on now, they actually won't update anymore. I can't update to the latest OS, and I can't update my logic and use all the latest features and stuff like that. So to me, it's like the people are like, just wait. I'm not going to wait another year and use this computer and I can't update it. It's like, it's already pretty slow, like video editing and stuff. And it's like, I feel like it's planned obsolescence, and they just get us by, you know, with whatever software updates and new stuff comes out, that computers always seem to run. So, I mean, I'm running the same program. I'm running Final Cut Pro. It seems to run slower now than it used to. I don't know. You know what I mean? So anyways, I just plan on buying a computer every 7 or 8 years, and I don't need the most powerful and most insane, like, whatever jacked up, because computers are so powerful now anyway, that it seems like if I just get sort of the baseline, like, I'm not saying I could do this on a MacBook Air, but if you're getting a Mac Studio, the base one that's $19.99 here in the States, like $2,000, is more than powerful enough, I think, to do most home recording. Like, unless you're, Hans Zimmer, and you've got like, or something, or you want to load up a whole bunch of string libraries and, different, samplers playing all at once and stuff like that. Okay, maybe then you need to look at but do you know what I'm saying? So anyways, with that in mind, I've got an M1 first generation of the M chips MacBook Pro. It's blazing fast for video. Like, it's so much faster than this computer I'm on now, which is an old iMac with an Intel chip. So, just look at what's out there now and see what you think. Obviously, get the newest thing that you can. But for me, I want a Mac Studio. I could literally probably use my MacBook Pro in here and just get an external monitor, and just have one machine instead of, because I've thought about that. I thought, what do I need 2 computers for? I generally have a MacBook for travel and using it home and stuff, and then I'll use, the sort of stationary computer that stays in here. But I'm like, I could just have a monitor here and then just bring my MacBook and plug it in, and then it would be connect my, Bluetooth keyboard, whatever, and my mouse, and away I go. Right? It's the same thing. I could actually be doing that right now and have a faster computer. I would just need to buy a monitor. But I kind of like having a machine that everything's plugged into, that, like a studio machine and a road machine. I kind of like that, and then all my eggs aren't in one basket either. If I've got like if something goes down or something, I've always got another computer I can work with. Okay, so I just look at what what you're going to be doing and stuff. And most Macs these days, like I say, even MacBook Airs and stuff, will probably handle like basic, recording just fine and stuff in GarageBand or in Logic. But you want to use the UAD interface. So I agree. I mean, UAD are great. That's been my choice for quite a while now. I use a UAD Apollo X8P is my main interface. I've got an older 8P that I've also got rigged up to it. and you know, so that I've got more inputs and stuff and more processing power for the UAD plugins. Get something that you can afford from them. They're great. And then I would say, as far as mic pre's and stuff, nothing. You use the you know, UAD stuff. That's like the virtual 1073s or APIs, or you know, the what's it called, the Sentry channel strip or something it's called, Tube Pre. That thing sounds great too. Just use those. They sound great. I've seen a bunch of I mean, like a long time ago, this is like 2 years ago, Greg Wells was like who's a, you know, produced Adele and all kinds of different people, and he's a legendary producer and friend of mine. He posted something about like, I'm all in on the UA virtual pre's. He's like, I can't hear any difference between my hardware and the UA stuff. And if he's saying, and he's a great big, you know, mixer, he's a mixer too. He's not like just a producer. He's a mixer engineer. So I've seen, you know, plenty of engineers, and you can find plenty of comparisons where people are A/Bing, you know, real Neves to the virtual pre's and stuff, and they're so damn close that it's like, just start with that at least, you know. That said, I do like external outboard pre's, so I have, because of their fun. So just like with guitar gear, you know, this gets into the whole, like, you know, modelers versus the real thing argument and stuff. And I guess, yeah, I'm just saying, you know, if you're a beginning guitar player, you're like, what practice amp should I get? Do I need like a tube amp, or I would probably say a Katana, you know? You know, but I think in the world of mic pre's, it's much simpler than, you know, than tube amps versus plugins and all that. There's less at play, you know. We're not talking about moving air with speakers and all the other things that come into play. But anyways, I do have an API dual pre here, and I do have a dual BAE 1073, and those are the main things that I use, as well as a Maris 440 and a couple other things around here for my mics. As far as a microphone goes, I mean, God, there's so many good mics out there now. You know, I would say get a 57 and then a condenser of some sort that is, you know, maybe an Audio Technica or something that's inexpensive and does a good job for the money, you know. And then the other thing you need, man, is good monitors. And I'm a fan in the lower, you know, price point. I would say the Adams, or I use A7Xs in my room. I've also got Barefoots in here and stuff, but the A7Xs are $1,500 a pair. You don't need to spend that on them. I have a pair at home of the T5s, I think they're called, which is in from their lower end, but it still has the honeycomb style tweeters and stuff. And they're maybe like $500 a pair or something like that, I think, or 600. And they're just fantastic, and they sound really, really similar to my A7s. So look at those. Good monitors are super important for recording. It's one of the most important things. So you're going to need, I would say, save the money on outboard mic pre's and stuff. Just use whatever's in the UA and use that. Get a couple good mics and get a good pair of monitors and a nice computer. A while back, Apple got caught deliberately slowing your phone down around the time they were releasing new phones. Yeah, I mean, I think they just do it. Like, I honestly think, you know, that it's a thing, you know, where they got to sell hardware. I mean, I'm an Apple investor. I own Apple stock, so I stand to benefit when people buy computers. It's just part of the, you know. And now cars are getting this way, right? It's like, you know, electric cars and stuff, everything's going to be, it's like, my car is basically like an iPhone, you know, it's like a car version of an iPhone. It's just like, it's all going the direction of everything's going to be upgraded in 7 years, you know. I don't know. I got more important things to worry about than all this, you know. It's just like, I'm not going to fight that system. What about an old school Tascam 4-track? I still have one back in the day, one of the best kits. They're great, man. I mean, they're so much fun. I don't know if you saw a while ago, I did a video on Tascam Portastudio, sort of a new version. It's about 3 years ago now or something, but it was it's a mixer, and they sell it now. 12-channel mixer, kind of very old school, but it is an interface, you know. It just operates like an old school you know, Tascam Portastudio basically, and it's pretty neat, and it's got a built-in memory card slot, so you can actually record right to it. You don't even need a computer. It's kind of cool. But then you can import the tracks, or you can use it just like an interface to get into a DAW. So kind of neat, you know, bridging that gap, you know. Really good for somebody like a drummer too that needs a lot of inputs. If you got 6 mics going or something at least, or more, 8, you can plug them all into this thing, and it's there's some instruments that it just, or if you're a band, and you want to record your band rehearsals and stuff, so it's difficult to do with like a 4-channel interface. Something like this Tascam, though, it's brilliant for that, made for that. So different devices, different strokes for different folks. Let's see what else we got here. Could I break down the shreddy lick from my mullet drive video? 12th fret box where you bend up to the E, go to the G, descend with. Oh, I think I know what you mean. I don't. I'd have to go back and watch it. I'm sorry, but I do a lot of. Like. It might have been something like. Or something like that, or something. I don't know. Is that what? something pentatonic or something like that. That's not going to really teach you what I'm doing, but just doing a lot of notes on every string, basically. I don't know. I'll go back and listen to it and see what it was that that you were hearing. Maybe I can show you next week or something. Let's see. Let's see. I use a Mackie Onyx 16 after my Mac crashed. I could not use the Firewire Focusrite Pro 40 any longer. Mackie sounds fine and was laying around for band rehearsals. Is the Onyx kind of like that? Is it like a USB interface that you can plug into a computer? And I think it might be, right? I think that there's, quite a few companies making that type of thing, or PreSonus, and you can, they're basically mixers, and then you can record a bunch of inputs. Great for recording band rehearsals or stuff, or even gigs. Any advice for stacking or cascading reverb between pedals? I don't really do that. I mean, I feel like reverbs are complicated enough already that I don't really need to put one into another. So I don't actually. Something like a Big Sky or whatever. There's so much going on anyway. I'm getting one of those, by the way, the new MX version. So I got to check that out. But I feel like reverb algorithms are so. I mean, something like a Black Hole that's what I use for my big ambient stuff. It's so complicated already. I don't need 2 of them, So I don't do a lot of that. I would just say, just try and find one that does what you want, Yeah. There's Jen. Hey, Jen, how you doing? What's going on? Haven't seen you since Saddle Ranch. Sending out happy vibes. Good to see you here. Just published a Dream Theater Recover. Everybody could check out Jen's, but not yet. Don't leave my stream, but check out her what she's been up to. Hope you're doing good. I know it's late over there in Germany, in your castle. Hope you're well. And say hi to the birdie. Let's see. Lauren says last gen computers are the way to go. Already outclass what you need for audio. 100%. That's the way I feel. Yeah, big changes coming to all OS, and I'm not very into it. The new AI focus and lack of security. Yeah, we'll see what happens, with all this AI stuff. If anybody watched that sort of presentation, that developer conference and all that, it's kind of crazy. I mean, like, I definitely have super mixed feelings about the whole thing. I mean, a lot of it seems great, and then a lot of it seems like, oh, so how will I ever know if somebody wrote me that email, or if it was just rewritten by AI? And it, they showed this different, like, you can basically type an email and then it'll rewrite it in a more formal style or a more casual style or a more whatever style, and it'll embellish it and stuff. And it's just like, okay, well, we won't know who the hell or what we're talking. Write my kid a bedtime story about dragons and this and that and the other thing. It spits out a story, and then you sit there and read it. It's like, I guess I don't know. The one great thing is you're never going to be able to replace a guitar player playing live guitar. You know, that just won't be something that it can do. So we'll go back to the days before recording of when everything was live performance, you know, which isn't really all that long ago. We're not going back that far. And, you know, it was all traveling minstrels and stuff, I guess. But anyways, Ebarge says, I'm a fan of the Yamaha monitors. Yeah, I like some of the Yamaha monitors too. Agreed. Friedman has a pair that sound quite good. I think they're nice for the money, you know. There might be something else to look at besides the atoms and stuff. They're a little less dough even, I think. Yeah. Let's see. Braxall says, I hear the difference between the plug-in preamps and the real ones. I have them here in my nice home studio. Same with compression and EQ. The hardware's way better. You know, to be honest, I've never done the comparison. I could do it. I mean, I've got virtual 1073s and I got real 1073s here. So I should try and just listen and see what I think. And, you know, I guess it depends on what mic pre you've got and what you're doing and what, you know, but I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of comparisons online and you can go listen to, you know, people comparing recording whole drum sets with the virtual stuff, the UA stuff. And I guess it would depend. It would depend what plug-in preamps and what real ones you're talking about and stuff. And, you know, and then, you know, always listen with your ears if you can. But I think outboard mic pre's is the last thing I would invest in. To be honest, like it's most important these days to get great interface, great computer, great monitors, and a couple good microphones first, and then later on, if you want to, it's almost like getting a good guitar, a good amp, great speakers before you start buying pedals. You know, get the basics first and make sure all that is satisfying and sounds great, and then. And speakers, i.e., you know, monitors. Monitors in studios, if you can't hear, you know, if you don't trust what you're hearing, then you won't be able to do anything because you won't know. I don't know. That sounds like a sound, but I can't tell if it's a good sound or not coming out of these speakers because the speakers are so dark or they're so bright and edgy that I can't really get a feel on what it actually sounds like. You know what I mean? So for me, the atoms have just been like, I don't know what it is. They just sound good to me. Like they sound like what I expect coming out of the monitor. And then when I do a mix and then I play it somewhere else, it tends to work. What more can I ask for than that, right? I recommended them to Chris Cornell, I remember, and he got some just like me back when I was helping him put a studio together. I remember him getting them, go, I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel the same way about these. Like they sound, and he always used A7s after that. He's like, they sound like what, you know, I can trust them, you know, and he had really good ears. So I don't know. It was just my recommendation, like try these, and he loved them. So from Richard Garcia, how does the PT212 deep cab compare to the Bogner OS 212? It's not quite as big, so it's probably about as deep, but it's not as tall, and just a little bit more compact than that cabinet. Tonally, I think it sounds everybody's good. I think the horizontal 212 is a fantastic sounding cabinet that we make. Really, really good. I've never heard anybody say they didn't like it. Actually, it just sounds really good. It sort of made another one that wasn't as deep. It was more like the old Marshall cabinets from the 70s. And it sounded okay, but I was like, can we go? My experience with, I remember Top Hat amps. They make these really great combos called King Royales and Club Royales. And the Club Royale was like a 1 or 212 version, but a half power version of a King Royale, which was like an AC30 basically. So the Club Royale, the 112 version, I heard a couple different ones, and he had a kind of a cabinet that was about this deep initially, and then he went to a cabinet that was about this deep on it. And I remember hearing it and going, like, even on a combo with a kind of oval open back, I think I was like, "Ooh, it sounds so much deeper and fuller." Like when you just that little bit more volume on the cabinet. That was my first clue back in the late 90s or something. It's like, oh, the volume of a cabinet is a, is a big deal. The depth from front to back or whatever, how big it is. And in a 112, I really heard it. And then so when we were comparing I had a Bogner OS oversized 212, and we were comparing the, to the Sur, the current one, with the depth that it was at. And I said, can we try and order some deeper ones and see what they sound like? And we did. And I was like, there it is. That sounds great. It's got, the thump of a 412 kind of a little more. So, yeah. Okay. There's a super chat there. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to skip all over the place here and just answer a bunch of these questions. Let's do the super chat and then we'll go all over the place. Thanks for the studio input, says Paul. I do have Yamaha HS8. Those are nice. F757 and 421. Cool. Old Apogee Quartet. Yeah, if it's old, you're probably going to, it's probably a Firewire one or something. Probably going to get something else. Been torn apart since computer. iMac crashed. Too old to update. Drum software. Easy Drummer or Superior Drummer. That's the main thing I'm using, 90% of the time. Love it. From TuneTrack. Yep. Try those out. Steven says, I think I'm getting the realization that the epitome of versatile modern day rock guitar tone would be a good Marshall and a power station. Yeah. I mean, modern, I guess, I think of Marshall's as more classic tone. And I think of modern as kind of Soldano dual rectifier, like the last 30 years or whatever of, that more grindy metal preamp gain front end based tone. As opposed to the sort of Marshall, a little more upper mid focused, or maybe if it's, JTM 45 meets super bass or whatever, a bit more that thing, So I think of those tones like less gain, a little bit more of that upper mid Kerrang thing. When I think of dual rectifier Soldano, I don't really think of the upper mid Kerrang thing, So, and that's sort of more modern to me, modern rock. Because what do we even consider modern rock now? I guess because it's like nobody really rocks anymore. Did anybody see the Noel Gallagher talking about the 1975 and being like, if that's rock, then I don't know what that is, but it's not rock. And I agree. It's like you've basically got metal these days. Rock, it's like, I guess Maneskin or like they're kind of a rock band, I guess. And then you've got the whole throwback kind of Dirty Honey thing and all that. But like, I don't hear a lot of rock bands out there these days. So when I think modern rock, I'm going back 10 or 15 years to, I don't know, like Alter Bridge and stuff like that. And like, that's the last distorted rock that was really, you know what I mean? Like whatever was on active rock charts. That's not metal, or Slash or something, I guess. I don't know. Because there just hasn't been much else rock, So the last the tones of those bands, I guess, when I think of like the kind of like, I don't know, what are the bands like Shine Down and that kind of stuff. I guess that was rock, I guess Wolfgang, he's rock, he's not metal. So Mammoth, those tones, that's that 5153s, sort of tone. And when I think those, I don't really think Marshall. I think more like preampy gain based amps and stuff. But anyway, I digress. Marshall and a power station is a great thing, always, I just think of more classic rock. Jan says salmon fillet is amazing. I would agree with that. I would. Okay. Braxall says he moved from Yamaha HS7 to Focal Solo 6s. A blanket was removed from your sound. I like Focals as well. Focal makes good monitors. And not uber expensive either. Nice stuff. Yeah, even Soldano has a classic edge. Yeah, it's sort of a bridge between the dual rectos and the 5150s and all that, and then later Ingles and stuff like those amps and Marshall before, for sure. Because there's a lot of Marshall going on in a Soldano, but it is a totally different sound to me with the changes that he's done in the gain stages and the values and things. It's got its own thing going on. So yeah. Foo Fighters are a rock band. Yeah, that's true for sure. Foo Fighters are definitely a rock band. What is modern rock? And when we look at the amps of the Foo Fighters, it's PT100s for Dave as well as Tone Masters. Dave's had 2 original custom audio PT100s in his rig forever, two PTs and 2 Tone Masters, and then you've got Chris Shiflett using Friedman's, and you've got Pat with Wizards these days. Used to be Soldanos, I think. So, yeah, Jen says, agreed, modern rock is pop. I think so. And it's not really rock at all, is it? 1975 is not rock. All right. Judas Priest is quintessential metal, old school metal. 100%. Agreed. Love them. Have I heard the new Slash album? Are you talking about the blues one? He was rehearsing close to here, so I heard him rehearsing for weeks for that project as I would go past the parking lot. I haven't actually listened to it. I've just seen a couple of videos and stuff like that. Let's see. Just looking through some of your comments here. Would I say Yamaha monitors are better suited for standalone than the Headrush? Are you talking about Yamaha wedges or studio monitors? I mean, personally, if I'm playing at home and just at kind of quieter volumes, I don't really need a wedge or anything like that. So I would just use a studio monitor for that. That's how I play my guitar 95% of the time around here, is through monitors, because generally a mic cab in the other room. And that's how I'm getting my tone, and I'm just playing at a reasonable volume, But even my monitors in here, if I turn them up loud enough, they make my ears ring, So yeah, I'm not sure if that's your question, or if you're asking about powered monitors, floor wedge style, in which case I don't know about Yamaha. I haven't tried, but yeah. I dig the shit out of Collective Soul, and I consider them rock. Yeah, for sure. Collective Soul was a 90s rock band. Straight up, right down the middle. Yeah. I think pop country is like 80s rock with fake twang. Well, that was, it's just because Mutt Lang got involved, and they did Shania Twain and the whole 90s thing, and then it just turned into, it's like even Def Leppard made a country record, didn't they? What power station do I have? Hi, Robert. I have the latest version of a PS100. So it's the 2-channel switchy jobby with 6550s in it. And I use it every day. I use it a lot. Enough that I've got an extra set of 6550s around here if these ones go, because every time if I do have a problem with it, it's I'm like, oh shit, now I gotta bust up my workflow and go to I've got a Faustine Phantom sitting here, attenuator, just in case I need to go to that. Because I always attenuate on the way to my cab in the other room, because it's an old Marshall with greenbacks, and sometimes I'm running 100-watt amps real loud into it. So I don't want to, run 100 watts into a 100-watt cab and stress it. Yeah. Paul says rock is hard because all the classic guys are aging. Guys like Vi, Satch, Schoen. Well, they're still out there killing it, but harder to find. There was always Pete Thorn. Well, thank you. Yeah, I feel like that's part of, I mean, the band that I play with over in the UK and Europe and now the US, but Classic Rock Show, I mean, that's part of the whole, I mean, you know, the appeal, I guess, of it that I've started to realize more and more is if you want to hear those songs, it's like you have less options as people get older and older. So it's like, and the audience still wants to come evidently and hear that music. So we try and do great versions of those songs because that's the whole point, you know. It's nostalgia for sure, but I wish there was more new stuff that was coming out that just sounded like that, you know, that was like 80s and rock and had a great, I don't know. I guess that's up to guys like me. I should be putting out more records of stuff. But anyways, Rival Sons is a rock band. They sure are. They're great. I like them a lot. Vintage Trouble is great too. They were cool. Yeah. Currently transcribing a couple songs from Pete Thorn too, says Michael. Cool. Just like to say that there are so cool nuances in the songs you're playing. Thank you. Appreciate that. Love to hear what you come up with. Or maybe I can learn from your transcriptions what I did. Because I don't think I remember. Oh my goodness. I remember some of it, but certainly not all of it. Cannot live without my KHE amp switcher, says Braxall, and Fryette power station. Still waiting for my Cyclops. That's the Fryette unit I was actually supposed to make a video of, and I just haven't been able to get to yet. That allows you to switch between an amp and a preamp, I think, into the something like the power station. I want to show you this while we're talking about gear and videos and stuff, because I just finished a video for this. Well, I'm still putting the finishing touches on it, actually. This thing is so fun. Look at it. It's a Bigsby pedal. So it does exactly what you think it would do. Big tremolo arm that is polyphony. Polyphony. So you can do like, you know, pedal steel style bends with it, or whammy bar style bends. You can set the depth so that it just goes down a little bit like a Bigsby would. It's kind of wild. Like in the video, I put a camera on my foot so you can see what I'm doing with the pedal. And when I watch it, I'm like, I'm using my right foot exactly like I use a whammy bar, like with the same, I don't know, it's just weird because your instincts to phrase, all I had to do was like practiced enough to get to the point where I'd transferred those motions from my hand to my foot, which took a couple hours. But once I got it, it was like, I don't know, the video is gonna, I think I'll put it out tomorrow, but this thing stands alone. I mean, okay, there's the whammy pedal and the Boss Harmonist and other things that you can do pitch bend with, but nothing works like this with it feels like a Bigsby. So the way that you respond to it and stuff, it's different. And it's not just a simple, you know, whammy kind of thing. It's got this subtlety to it that is awesome. And then the other thing you can do with it is mod. So you can set it to do a kind of a lo-fi depth rate modulation and also detune. So when you push it down, it starts wobbling your chords as you kind of would shake a whammy bar. And it's 3D and amazing sounding. It's really cool. So I think this thing, because of all those things, actually is totally unique. There's no other pedal like it, I think, in the world, which is rare to say because we all know there's a lot of screamers and stuff out there. So, you know, I'll come up with a clickbaity title for the video that's like, this thing stands alone, or what's a good one? Somebody tell me a good one. It's pretty wild, you know, pretty neat. So Sammy says, will I come to Germany anytime soon? I don't know. I'm gonna be in France in a couple weeks, but that's not Germany. Be close, I guess, but I'm not. I don't know if I'll go to. I don't have plans to attend Guitar Summit in Mannheim this year, although I always have fun going to that. But I want to do another Japan trip in the fall, so I think maybe not. So I don't know. Long story short, on Germany, I hope that we would do Germany with Classic Rock Show next year. I can't promise, but you know, we did 3 testing the waters, 3 European dates with Classic Rock Show in March, and they all sold out. So we did Netherlands and Finland, 2 in the Netherlands and 1 in Finland. We were only, I mean, a lot of German people came to one of the dates in the Netherlands because we were so close to Germany. And I know there's fans there of people that have seen the YouTube channel stuff and they want to come see a show. So I would think that next year we would make it there. I hope so. I hope that that's happening. I hope that the good turnout of the dates in the Netherlands has, reflected well on the band and, to promoters and stuff like that. And the next year there would be some dates in Germany. So maybe in February, March, something like that. I'll keep you posted on that. Can't promise though. You never know. You never know. You never know. You never know. Yeah. Todd says, I worry about there not being a Metallica playing somewhere in the world someday. It's a comforting feeling knowing they're still killing it. Yeah, I mean, anybody's favorite band. It's like it's a, it's hard for me with Van Halen. That I can't go see Van Halen anymore. Little did I know. I'm gonna put this down. Little did I know in 2015 when I saw Van Halen at the Hollywood Bowl that would be the last Van Halen show ever. Crazy when I think about it. I'm just like, oh man. When I watched them walk off at the end of that night, I didn't realize that. It's like you don't think that way, but you never know. You just never know. You never know. So live your life while you can. Go see these bands and stuff. Yeah. Steven says, I meant modern rock guitar gear, not modern rock music. Using a good Marshall with the power station trumps all the clones. I don't know. I mean, clones, like, if you mean like SL68s and stuff, I mean, they sound exactly like them. They really do. I think that nut is cracked. I mean, like you can get a new, Germino, Sir, Friedman, different amps that are so close to the old ones, or in many cases sound better than old ones that haven't been well maintained and need filter caps or whatever. It's a circuit. I don't know. I mean, some of the old amps, you could play a Magic one and go like, oh man, this one sounds good. But it's down to the circuit, and the transformers were kind of magical and stuff, but it's so damn close that I don't know. I'm probably misinterpreting you again, but sorry about that if I am. Ben says it's a Biggle stick in pedal form. Yes, it's a Bigsby. It's awesome. The video will be out for the Bigsby pedal tomorrow, so I'll put it up. I'm going to finish it today and put it up. Really fun. Are you ever going to make a video in the 2290? Yes. That's going to happen too. The Bigsby one, they've been waiting for longer. So I'm trying to get that one. I've been trying to get it done for like 6 months. So I'm going to finally finish it. But it's really amazing. Really, really, really cool. Interesting gadget. Yes, exactly. It is. It's fun. I mean, here's the thing. If you've got it'll do the lo-fi mod thing and warble and all that stuff, and that's really fun. But just imagine you've got a Les Paul or something that doesn't have a whammy bar, and now you can do, you can play all this like pedal steel or rockabilly style stuff on it, or like a Strat. I mean, you can set the depth of when you hit the arm so that, this will drop like 2 whole steps or more. You can make it more like a whammy. But the fun is kind of when you've only got it set for a whole step, maybe, and then it really acts like a Bigsby, and then you can do these subtle, picture, Chris Isaac, and you kind of do that with it, you know what I mean? And it really sounds like it, and you can do it on any guitar, and you don't have to worry about going out of tune. It's just I could see it becoming a big part of the way that I play. I did this benefit concert a while ago out in Palm Springs with Alice Cooper and Josh Homme and stuff, and Paul Rogers and Brian Ray from McCartney's band was the other guitar player, and he had one, and I was amazed like watching him use it, because he's not really a pedal guy. So, I mean, he has some pedals, but he's like he'll generally have kind of a slap delay or some echo and a fuzz, and he's kind of a guitar into amp kind of guy, really, at the core, I think. But he had it, and he was really enamored with it, and he was like using it on the show and stuff. And I thought that was interesting that on this show that was kind of a pressure cooker of like, now this person's getting up, now this classic artist, now this artist. And we were like the house band and had to remember all these songs. And he still brought a pedal like this, like on a gig like that, and was kind of trying to integrate it into the show. And I like, he must really like it, because it's like we had so much to remember. That I'm just thinking like, to get Brian jazzed about a new pedal enough to kind of like, you know what I mean? It was cool to see, you know. So then I had to get one and try it and stuff, and it was interesting. But yeah, exactly. It's not at all like the Digitech Whammy or Ricochet. Similarities, I mean, you could argue, right? But it doesn't, in practice, when you're using it, you know, you see what I mean right away about how the sound is different. You'll hear it in my video too, that it does something different. I'm happy with the little piece of music and the way it turned out and stuff. Yeah. So anyway, Paul says, I love that you mentioned balancing the input in the speaker cab with the power station. Makes a huge difference, especially with old low wattage speakers. Yeah, I don't want to, first of all, wreck the speakers. You know, I don't want to cook them. But yeah, you just don't, with these devices, it sounds so good these days, you don't need that much volume going on. You know, you can chill it out a little bit. I mean, you want the speakers to move, but you don't gotta pummel them, you know. So Jen came to the show in the Netherlands. That's true. You were there. You were at one of them, the second one, I think. Not Eindhoven. What was it? The other place we played. Can't remember the name of it now. A crazy venue with the studio walls. It was so wild. This venue was like a recording studio. Like it had these unbelievable huge doors that swiveled, and they would move so effortlessly, but they were heavy and huge as hell. And they were like these thick doors that were like part of the wall, and they would just open up, and that's how people came into the room. It was so wild. It was so modern and amazing, and unlike any venue I'd been in. Oh, that's a good question. How did you record acoustic on Rosemary? That's off my last record. Mics, etc. I probably mic'd in stereo, which is something I almost never do, but I probably did. I would think that I did. Ooh, I don't remember, to be honest. I would have to open up the session. It's on another hard drive. I don't have it in here right now. I would have to look at there would be I could look at the tracks and see what I was doing. But thanks. I'm really glad you like it. My guess is that I did a stereo XY, probably miking, two microphones kind of going like this in front of the guitar. Either that, or I had one on the neck and one on the body, probably, and then panned them. Because it's also I think I did it in pieces. Like, I don't think it's one performance all the way through. Oh, well, there's also probably there's guitars in the strummy part that are probably panned out. Those were probably recorded in mono. And then I remember playing the solo parts on a guitar. God, that's a long time ago now, but it was on a I'm trying to remember the exact guitar I used. No, it wasn't that one. What the hell did I play the solo? Man, I should take notes when I record, because it's thinking back 6 years and stuff. It's like trying to remember which instrument I actually played the lead parts on. I kind of can't. I think it might have been my Larvae, sort of dreadnought style. Or it might have been my Martin. I know I used my Martin on that. That was the gift guitar from Chris Cornell. I used that on. That might be the lead sound actually on it. Anyways, this is useless. I'm not really helping you very much. But if I'm recording generally speaking, if I'm recording a guitar part that has to stand alone and it's just that, I'm going to do a stereo thing, and I'm always thinking about phase and stuff. So I would tend to record XY. So with the two microphones in a pattern like this, close to one another, and then you pan them out. And then if they collapse to mono, because the mics are right in the same place, you're going to get still a decent mono image and not any cancellation. If I'm doing a thing where I'm soloing and then there's a rhythm guitar backing kind of thing, I'll generally track those mono and then pan them out. So, you know, just a couple different strummy acoustics or something like that. And then with the lead in mono up the middle. And then you've still got the stereo thing going on because you got the rhythm guitars bouncing around and then the lead thing up the middle. So that's always the easiest way to record acoustic is one microphone. And generally speaking, if I'm recording with one microphone, I will put it in front of the guitar, anywhere from this far to maybe this far in front of the guitar. And I will generally put it kind of close to where the neck meets the body, but maybe a little further away from the body. So maybe pointing at the 14th fret or something like that. And I try and listen, and it's hard because if I'm engineering, and I'm the engineer too, it's hard to tell. So you got to record a little bit and go back and listen to see if you like it, because your perception will be screwed up by trying to listen in headphones and hearing the guitar because it's right there. You know, you kind of can't get, I find acoustic a difficult thing to get a handle on if I'm self-engineering. So I need to experiment with sitting in different places and move the mic a little bit and then figure out where it sounds the best by listening to the playback of a recording. But generally speaking, I'm trying to get a balance of bass and clarity. And if you're right in front of the microphone, if it's right in front of the sound hole, you tend to get too much bass, I find. If you can move back a ways, you know, then it might work and just compress it or something. That's kind of it's a great sound too. It's kind of like the Beatles or something with a U47 in front of the guitar, a big tube mic, you know, and you're back a little bit from the mic, and they probably just ran it through a tube limiter or something, and it sounds great, you know. That's cool. But if you're a little more further up on the mic for a more intimate thing, then you're going to kind of want to move the mic a little further into the neck and away from the sound hole, because it just too much air and bass pumping out of the guitar, I think, is what I always hear. So I'm looking for that balance of bass to clarity. Don't want it to get thin. Sometimes I really like a large diaphragm mic for this, but sometimes if I want a little faster, truer, very accurate representation of what the guitar sounds like, a small diaphragm condenser can be the way to go. And for that, I really love Neumann, either like KM84s or even the newer KM184 is one of my favorites that I've ever heard. I think they're a terrific sounding microphone. Even like I say, the new KM184, new, I say new, they've been out since the 90s probably, but I like that microphone a lot. I hear other people go, oh, they're nothing compared to an old KM84. Okay, I don't know. It sounds good to me, you know. I used it a lot at Linda Perry's when I used to record in her studio for different artists and stuff. And the KM184 was always a favorite of mine at her studio. She had a couple beautiful, she had a Collings acoustic that I used to use a lot. That sounded really good. So the KM184 through her knee board with maybe a little, I don't know what she was using for a compressor or what, but that was always pleasing. Sounding great. Once again, right in front of the neck of the guitar. She wouldn't even tell me where to sit. I would just kind of do it myself and be like, and she'd be in the control room with the engineer or whatever, and I would just kind of sit and go, how's that sound? And I'd go, yeah. And I always put it in the same place. Yeah. Yeah. Any suggestions for a low output bridge humbucker from a Warmoth? Get a Thorn bucker. They're the coolest. I love them. Absolutely fantastic. Okay. Let's see. Bigsby that stays in tune. Yeah, exactly. The Bigsby pedal does stay in tune, obviously, because it's electronic. I'm building a pedal board using HX Stomp plus other pedals, says Earl. Okay. If the external pedals are routed through the send receive, will they be integrated into a DAW via the Stomp USB connection? I would think so. Yeah, I mean, the audio passing through the pedals should go out. Yeah. 99% sure. Steven says, can't wait for your next solo. Thanks. PT2 has been on regular rotation. I know. I've been thinking more about getting it. getting it done. You know, I got to do it. It's just, I'm starting to think I'm ADHD or something. Anybody out there go through that? It's like, you know, like, should I go get evaluated for that and see if, or maybe that's just an excuse? You know what I mean? I guess that's the questions that everybody goes through everybody's head if they're wondering if they're have some sort of attention deficit disorder. You know, I do get over here. Oh, wait, here's a shiny thing. Distracted, you know, destroying my life. But yeah. Concert tickets are so high right now, says Braxall. Sometimes it's better to just sit home and watch them on YouTube. Yeah, that's the drag. I mean, it's the don't want to get to that point, right? Where it's like people would just rather stay home. Then you've screwed your own industry, you know. It's part of what is, once again, the classic rock show. Like, we sell tickets because it's not expensive. I think the tickets are $45 or something. And so it's like, and people will come up to you after the show, like meet and greet or whatever, and they'll go like, that was like seeing 7 concerts in one, because they got to hear a lot of their favorite bands, you know. Just reporting back. I agree, man. Tickets are too much. I bought tickets for Beck at the Hollywood Bowl the other day. I can't wait to go to that because it's like he's doing a orchestral shows. So I mean, one of my favorite albums of all time is Beck's Morning Phase album. It's absolutely beautiful. One of the best records I've ever heard in my life, actually, of any era. And the band that did Morning Phase also did the Sea Change album in the early 2000s. So it's that same band. And that similar sound and style, that because, you know, Beck's always jumping around into different genres and styles and stuff, but with that thing that he does is just, it's, oh god, it's so good. So anyway, they're doing a LA Philharmonic shows, because a big part of those records is the strings, and his dad did the string arrangements. You know, he's a famous string arranger, and it's just beautiful. So, but anyway, the tickets weren't too bad. I think they were 90 for that show. And I was like, that's one of my favorite records of all time. So it was like $90, no question. I mean, I was talking to Sir the other day. I think he bought tickets for Gilmore, but he's just like, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do this because they're so crazy. There's like they were like $1,200 or something for 2. It's like, you got to really like somebody to go, you know, spend that kind of, like, that's too much money to go to a show. It's not worth it, you know. I don't think. I mean, it might be the last time you ever see them or whatever, but come on. Like, you know, I remember seeing Rod Stewart in 1982 or something. Tonight I'm Yours tour. $12 was that's like paying, you know, 60 now, I guess, or something. But $12. You know, Van Halen was like $14, you know. Like $600 for tickets, or it's also, it just reflects the shifting nature of the industry and how people don't really make any money off of recorded music anymore. It's all about the live shows and selling merch. So it's just all shifted to that. I guess when you look at it, like, here's an interesting way to look at it, I guess. If you look at it like, people used to spend a lot of money on buying CDs and LPs and cassettes. I mean, I probably used to spend, I mean, I bought a lot, you know? And when I look at my record collection, I think about what I spent. And now we're all subscribers, you know? And so you subscribe to, I don't use Spotify because I hate them, but I use Apple. I'm an Apple One subscriber, so I just use Apple Music, even though it kind of stinks. But you know, you pay your $9.95 a month or whatever it is, and that's it. Well, I used to spend a lot more money than that on records. I mean, what if I bought even 4 a month or something, which I probably did? You know, that was 4 times as much as that, right? So if I was spending, let's say I was spending $40 a month on music, well, that quickly turns into, like, if I spend, you know, every 6 months or something, I do one big splurge on a concert. Let's say 30, 60, 90, 90, 180. Yeah, it'd kind of be like, yeah, we just sort of shifted the money that we spend on music to the live experience, I guess. And of course, it all depends how much music you bought and how much live music you go see, I guess. But and as usual, you know, it's all Ticketmaster and everything, and their whole stupid fees. And Tom Lind is saying the Sphere tickets in Vegas are nuts. I'll be in Denver next week. I'd see the Stones, but the cheapest is $500. Like, yeah, I'm not paying $500 to go see the Stones. I love the Stones, but no, I don't want to go that bad. That's just me. I just think it's too much. But $90, with fees and everything for a couple of tickets, it was little over 200 for like something that I really want to see. That's fair. I'm totally fine with that. Maybe tickets should be capped at $100 or something. And people just need to figure out how to. All the artists I'm working for right now are like, shut up. But it's just too much money for the average person. Asheville guy says, what up? Luna came out for PC and I saw your Luna plunge video was great. Yeah. Luna for tracking, Studio One for mixing. I honestly love Luna for mixing. I could kind of go the other way, like Logic for tracking and Luna for mixing. Mixing with the summing and the tape on every channel and stuff is awesome. Just try it. Like do a small project, maybe not too many tracks. Keep it under 20 or something, of stuff, and just do a mix. Maybe do a recording and a mix in each one and listen to it. The thing that blew me away was when I did a mix in Logic and then I mixed the same song in Luna, and I listened back and the Luna mix was better. This was quite a while ago. But yeah, it was interesting. It sounded warmer, fatter, super analog and pleasing when I mixed in Luna. And I don't know if it was the summing or what, but it sounded great. Luna's the UA DAW, by the way, for those out there that don't know. Would I have blended in the internal pickup? I think you mean when recording with microphones on an acoustic guitar. No, because it'll generally always be out of phase, and I just don't want to deal with that, with time aligning things. And I always feel like the internal pickup is a compromise on acoustics. I don't feel like it's worth. I just use the mic'd acoustic sound. The one thing on Pete Thorn 2 that is acoustic pickup is there's a nylon string part on. Is it on Remember? I think it's on Remember. That is my Godin internal pickup. And I think I added a bit of modeling, like maybe I use Acoustic Woodworks plugin maybe from UA, which is kind of like a convolution style. I don't know what it is, but it adds like a mic model kind of thing, kind of like the Fishman Aura system, similar. But you put it on as a plugin after the fact. And I just kind of naturalized the sound of the nylon string a little bit, and it worked great. So, oh yeah. Dice Drums says Chris Cornell is one of the greatest rock singers of all time, if not the greatest of his era, but few people come close. The tone, soulful vibe from Sabbath to Beatles like melodies. Yeah, Chris had a unique, he had a very, very, very broad palette for listening, and he was a fan of a ton of different stuff and really appreciated different things deeply, from punk rock to singer-songwriters like, Cat Stevens to Elvis Costello, to Black Sabbath, right? To, he really enjoyed a lot of different types of music and seemed to get it on a deep soul level. So speaking of soul, like his version of Stay With Me, search for that if you haven't heard it. I mean, when he did that, the only time that song was ever performed live by him was with us. We did a one show. You can find a short clip of it, I think, on YouTube. Unfortunately, there was not enough of that show recorded, but it was a really fun show I did with him in 2016, early 2016, at the Roxy. It was a private gig, and I just assumed more was going to get, and I searched afterwards, and I was like, why hasn't anybody uploaded anything from this gig? Because I'd hoped it would turn up. I should have videoed it and recorded it myself. But anyway, Stay With Me. We did that song live. When I heard his version of it for the first time, I said, dude, I remember saying, like, what did you like aim to cut like the most amazing soul vocal ever? like, like, what were you? And he just laughed, you know, but it was like really incredible, his singing on that song. So I mean, just like he got things so deeply, you know. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, he was one of a kind, man. One of a kind in so many ways. That's true. Let's see. AKG C1000, great on acoustic if you can't afford a Newman. That's cool. I've never used a C1000. I love the AKG. The 414 TL2 is a great all-around condenser. It's got kind of the, I think the electronics or something from or does it have a C12 capsule? Can't remember, but I'm not a huge fan of the regular 414. They always sound like a little scooped and clinical to me, but the TL2 version of it was really nice. I guess it's a different microphone than what you say. C1000, I think, is a large or a small diaphragm condenser, I think. Yeah, I think so. But anyway, yeah, lots of good stuff out there. Stones sound great right now. New record is great too. I love the new record. Terrific record. JJ says, I like mixing with an all API analog workflow in Luna. Yeah, with the API modules up and everything and the summing, and it sounds really good, right? It's cool. Lauren's recommending the Lewitt 140 Air as a great small diaphragm mic. I've had nothing but good experiences with Lewitt microphones as well. Very nice stuff. Hey, if you're watching, we got 305 of you on the line right now. Please hit the thumbs up to help spread this far and wide. We need all the help we can get these days on YouTube. Seems harder and harder to reach folks. But I guess I just got to work a little harder. I was thinking I would make a video about the history of the Ibanez Destroyer and Rocket Roll, because I think if he'll let me borrow it, I have a friend now with a Rocket Roll V. I have access to that. So I thought that'd be an interesting video. Those lawsuit Ibanez's of the wacky shapes. And I thought folks might like that on the YouTubes. I'm just trying to come up with ideas for interesting videos. All right. Are shotgun mics very good for flat top or acoustic guitar, says Ryan. I don't think necessarily that shotgun mics are generally, they have a very, very narrow focused pickup pattern. They're meant for speech from a distance. So I think it's kind of a different thing. I mean, it might work. But they kind of, I tend to find shotgun mics quite attenuated in the bass generally for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they're generally very clear for speech and stuff, but they're not real full and warm sounding. That's for sure. Am I wrong about that? Anybody out there that knows microphones? Let's see. Jimmy Jack says, I got Thornbuckers in a HH custom Strat style I built. They sound great. They'll do anything you want. I think so. I think they're, in a Les Paul, just the standard Thornbucker set in a Strat style. Maybe you want the Thornbucker Plus in the bridge, or maybe a Thornbucker 2. And I think they're just killer. To use EQ to de-harsh, for example, a sizzly kind of plexi plug-in or something like that. You can. I mean, you can try, first of all, in low-pass stuff and just bring it down from 12K to 10K to 9K to 8K to 7K until you start to hear it cutting off, too much. You can do that. And then you can also try and find, many times there's harsh frequencies somewhere between like 2 and 4K, like the 3K, the 4, and there'll be like one kind of notchy weird. And sometimes I'll set a kind of a narrow boost, and I'll sweep around and listen for when it gets really like it's tearing my ear off. And then I'll just do a light dip there sometimes. That surgical kind of like smoothing, Sometimes I'll go at it that way, or sometimes I'll use things like tape plugins occasionally to try and just warm things up a little bit. Like if you'd use the Studer plugin from UA and you use the old style, like 15 IPS and the 250 tape simulation and stuff, that's like kind of like older, a little more warm. And I'll try and go at it that way. But generally, if it's a surgical kind of thing, then I'll find that I'll do the first thing I just said. There's a great plugin from Brainworks, by the way, an EQ plugin. Let me see what it's called exactly, because I'll recommend it to you. It is, and you can do this kind of surgical type EQing with it. Let me see. It is called the BX Digital V2, I think, or V3. BX Digital V3. That's Brainworks Digital V3. Look for that EQ. It has this feature on it that basically, when you're trying to find a harsh frequency, it'll only play that frequency. So if you're playing a track through it, and then you kind of highlight this one frequency and you sort of hold on this one thing, and as you're sweeping, you're only going to hear that frequency. So it cuts out everything else except for the width of the band that you're boosting, and then that, and it allows you to really, it'll start resonating like in a crazy way when you hit something that's unpleasant, and it just allows you to hone in on unpleasant frequencies really quickly. So it's a nice EQ plugin that I would recommend for that surgical kind of EQ. That said, now generally, when I am EQing guitars and things like that, if I am in a mix, I generally go for pretty wide, not super wide, but pretty wide bandwidth. Not too narrow. It's a lot of the classic EQs and Neves and stuff, it's pretty wide, when you're boosting and cutting. If you were to watch them if you had some sort of visual reference to, boosting a Neve, mid-range band or cutting, it would be rather wide. So, generally speaking. So anyway, what's the pedal, amp, and guitar you've owned the longest? That's a really interesting question. I probably somewhere still have the very first pedal I ever bought, which was a Chorus from, I don't remember the name of it. It was like an off-brand but it sounded really good. An analog Chorus pedal in the early 80s. That probably is still somewhere. I wonder if I still have the Boss Super Overdrive I got too at the same time, because I think I got them both the same day. I have a lot of pedals, like a Vox 730. No, what's it called? The Vox Tube Screamer. It was silver. Came out in the 90s. I've got that kicking around somewhere. I've got a THD amp, the Flexi 50 that I had in the late 90s. I still have that here. It's in the other room. I should bust it out sometime and plug it in, make a video out of it or something. Other pedals, let me think. I've got a fuzz that I've had since the late 90s. Ibanez Tone Lock analog style delay. I think it's digital, but it's aping an analog delay. I still have that around here somewhere. Some divided by 13 pedals, like a Rangemaster style that I've had since 2002 or 3. Yeah. Lots of stuff kicking around Earl says, have you seen Danny Elfman's recent tour? No. I've seen, when Josh was playing with him and Neely, I think she's still doing it, isn't she? Or is she doing Death Clock all the time? Death Clock, whatever that thing is. I saw them at was it Coachella? I saw that. I mean, I saw it on TV, and it was really cool. It was awesome. He's a wild dude. I did a session with Danny once. I did a session with Danny Elfman and for a movie. What the hell was the movie? I don't even remember what movie it was, to be honest. But I did a session. I did 2 sessions with Danny Elfman, I think, with Chris Chaney and Josh Freese. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then I don't know. No, I haven't in a long time. Maybe he didn't like what I did. I don't know. But I guess he's surrounded by great musicians. He's got Neely and different people, you know, so he'd probably working with them. But anyways, that was 5 years ago or something like that, I think. I paid $8 to see Rush in Montreal, says Joe. That's awesome. You were going before me then. Rod Stewart at the Greek Theater in 82. That's cool. Tonight I'm Yours tour, man. It was good shit. Love Rod. One thing we've never done in classic rock show is faces with Rod. I mean, I think they've done it before, but I want to do Stay With Me in that show, because why not? What a great tune. Fun. Throughout your progression and your riffs you've mastered that come to mind. On the last tour I had to do, speaking of Whitesnake, I had to do the Still of the Night solo. That took a minute. And actually halfway through the tour, I changed the way that I was approaching it a little bit, the way I was fingering it and where I found the licks to fall into the fingers. I found a better way to play it. And it was one of those solos that I always felt like, you know, John Sykes is a difficult cat to try and emulate. And it was one when I was doing it, I was always like, oh, I don't know if that was very good. And then I'd listen back to the, you know, cell phone videos from the audience later, and I'd go like, well, that sounds pretty good. Like, you realize when you listen to the solo on the record that it's not perfectly like, you know, every note. Like, it's more about the fire in it. And there's it's just fiery and really fast, but not every note is perfectly clean on the record. So to kind of capture that, it's just you just sort of floor it, you know? And what other stuff? I don't know, like doing like the challenges like that are interesting. And the classic rock show gig has made it, like playing I'm the One all last year, you know, we did that on the whole European run. And that was interesting because it's like, it's not even a song that is big over, like, you know, it's a total album cut. And for the classic rock show audience, it's a little deep cut, maybe. So I had to kind of sell it, which is a different, you know, if we're talking about Van Halen, it's like they weren't right there, you know, with me, like from the beginning of it. You know, a lot of people were like, what's this going to be, you know? And it's a sit down audience at that point. So you don't have this crazy rock energy. So I had to kind of like really, you know, like it was stressful to play that song, actually. And you kind of have to just, that was part of the challenge, actually. The fun challenge was to not make it stressful, was to, because you could tunnel into it and like go the wrong way mentally with it, or you could just play loose and have fun. And that was the way that I found, like, nobody's gonna care if it's not perfect or whatever. Like, it's just go for it, because that's what Van Halen would have done. So to try and put yourself in that mindset was a fun challenge every night, you know. Fun challenge to not get stressed out and have fun with it, and realize when you were in the last chorus and go like, I made it. Like, I'm basically there. Here we go. So that's a fun one. Anything else in that? I mean, like having to do that set with Mitch a few years ago where we played like 23 Van Halen songs back to back. That's the one where I was like, did I really like, that's a lot of Van Halen like back to back. And it's like, I mean, there's people that go out and do that all the time, you know, Atomic Punks guys or whatever, you know. You get used to it, I guess, and you just go out there and you play those songs. But for me, that was challenging, you know, a whole set of that stuff. And it's good for you to do that stuff and build up to it, and then you go out and do it, and then you're like, I guess I did it, you know. So when I listen back to it, I think we did a pretty good job, you know. But what I came to realize was I would have to do that all the time to actually be good at it. What I would consider to be, okay, I'm pretty good at this now. I would have to do it a lot and all the time, and I don't want to do that a lot and all the time, if that makes sense. I want to be me. So but yeah, there'd be no substitute for, you know, that's why there'll never be another guy like that, you know. He's him, that's it. So, but it's fun to try and good for your playing. Fun challenge. Yeah. Jimmy Jack says, I think the Thornbuckers can do it all. They aren't too much in terms of hot here. They're very balanced. Yeah, that's the nature of the Alnico 4 thing, and not winding them up too hot. They're just kind of a great all-rounder, you know, that's a, you know, you can always boost and then, but they'll play clean just beautifully and stuff, and then they balance really beautifully with one another, the neck and the bridge models. Yeah. Paul says, I just spent 60 pounds per ticket to see Jane's Addiction with my wife and 80 pounds to see Weezer and Smashing Pumpkins. I guess those are pretty fair prices for shows, you know. But I know it can bite into the budget a lot and stuff, but that means you're a great supporter of music. You care, you know. Yeah. Tom says $90 is about standards. How about the $20 beers? Yeah, that's pretty bonkers. People are soaking left and right. Time for a sip of coffee. All right, let's see here. Ooh, this is cool. I remember seeing Pretenders and Zenyatta Mondatta on the same day. Seems like tons of music. But by Zenyatta Mondatta, do you mean the Police? Like you saw that tour? Or no? Wasn't that the name of one of the records? Van Halen, $17.50 for 51.50 tickets. Back in the day. That would have been expensive too. It's like, wow, your tickets went from $14 to $17.50. Oh, brother. Just for reference, $40 in 1980 is $160 now. That's interesting. Really? Really? Well, so what was $12 in 1980? What was $12? Well, how do you say that? What would $12 in 1980 be worth now? The way to word that? Oh, $45.74. Well, seems about right. $45 to see a show. That's what Rod was. Is it me or are you a little cross-eyed? I don't know. What do you think? Is it me or are you a little brash? That's gonna be friggin' memes of that. Is it me or are you a little? Do you point out things about people that have other handicaps in public? You know, like if somebody's, you know, possibly challenged in other ways, is it something where you would ask that question? Jesus Christ. All right, Rick. I've been eyeballing the Marshall JTM 45 Studio. Your demo was great. What is your afterthoughts and or recommendation for a JTM 45 in that price range? Well, it's really good. I mean, they sound really good. It's a nice, and it looks beautiful. You know, I got to hand it to them. It's like I said in the video. They just did a gorgeous. You can see it sitting right there. I put it there because it's so beautiful. They did a very nice job on it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else even competes, to be honest. I would probably go that way. You know, it's a great. Marshall was very, very, very smart. I've said this with the Studio Vintage. You know, the Plexi, the 800, and that's what they should have been doing for a long time. I think, you know, lower volume, not low volume, but lower volume, lightweight, give the people what they want kind of amps. Only other thing you're going to be able to get in that price range is probably something from Seriatone or something, I would think, right? Because aren't they around 12? I mean, I don't know exactly on the 45, but the Studio Vintage is, I seen them for $1,200. It seems like kind of all day long. So, yeah, I mean, probably just go that route or look for a used, you know, build that somebody made or something, you know. Yeah, you can always look for a used. I mean, I bought a used Germino right here for a really reasonable price. I mean, it was $1,800, I think I got it for. Not saying you'll get, but you know, you look around until you find one, and that's a Headroom 100 that I had modified. But you know, you might find something for a few $100s more from Germino or something that, you know, comes up used or something, that you could go that route. And then you've got, you know, turret board, hand wire, a little more, you know. Let's see. Do you have any videos on setting up the 5050 with the Sin 2 preamp? There's tons of demos and modules, but nothing on how to rig up the setup. There's nothing to it, really. I mean, you just literally take the output of the preamp and plug it into the power amp. On the power amp, you've got basically a volume A, volume B, because you got two outputs that you can, you know, it's a stereo power amp. It's got a loop in it that's stereo, I think, at the back. So I never use that, but so you can run, you know, into two sides of a stereo cabinet or two cabinets, and then you can have your effects in stereo and stuff. But it's literally just, there's a mono output out of the preamp, and you just run it into the mono input on the power amp, and then it functions like the power section of an amp. You got a presence and depth control. That's it. You know, level, presence, depth. There's really nothing to it. So, Peter says his version of Patience is amazing. I think you're talking about Cornell, right? Made it his own and owned it. He was always great with covers, you know. I love the cover he did of Ticket to Ride that he did on around Songbook, around the first solo acoustic tour he did. It was really beautiful. He used some loopers. I helped get him, set him up with some Digitech loopers, and then when I saw the way that he used them, he got two of them, and then he did this amazing looping thing with them, and he ended the show that I saw with it, you know, with the loopers. It was awesome. It was so cool. And doing Ticket to Ride. But so he was always really creative with covers, and, you know, the Prince cover, and he was a fan at the end of the day, loved music, you know. I threw an SM70, an SM58 on a little Honeytone amp, and that thing recorded really well. A 58 can sound great. It's the same mic as a 57, just with the ball end on it, you know. So they work great on electric guitar. It's a good microphone. Let's see. Another comment about microphones on acoustics. Anything by Sheps sounds wonderful. I've never recorded with a Sheps mic, but I've heard things that were and loved it, and also some of the acoustic IRs that I love. You know, where you can apply an impulse response to a guitar pickup, and then it makes it sound much more real. Some of the ones from this one company that I've tried with Sheps microphones always sounded really terrific. So I'm like, it's interesting how impulse response stuff of things has interested me in the actual hardware gear. I guess that's like probably for a lot of us, you know, you try a modeler and it's got a model of some amp you've never tried. You're like, well, this is my favorite one in the modeler, and then you want to try the real thing, you know. So, yeah. This is interesting. Here's a show for you. Returning to the Baked Potato, world famous Grammy-winning guitarist Albert Lee. Guitars, keys, vocals, John Greathouse. Keys and vocals, David Chamberlain. Bass, vocals, Herman Matthews. Oh no, that's Herman Matthews on drums and vocals. I did that all wrong. Anyways, $35 to go to the show. Albert Lee, one of my favorite guitar players that I've ever heard. Bought Albert Lee instructional books and cassettes back in the day, and any country licks I have are because of him. Were those mid-70s Destroyer pickups wax potted? Probably not. I don't think wax potting became a common thing until well after the early 80s, I would say. Do you have any amps in the zone videos to do? You know, I haven't done one for a long time. I should do one on something. I don't know what, but something. It's a good question. Kind of forgot, actually. It's like, be good to do, though. Do you have any Arian pedals? Well, I have the Arian Chorus that was the Landau Mod Vertex one that turned into a whole debacle. But it sounds great. It's an Arian Chorus with whatever little mods that they did for Landau or not. But anyway. What's your favorite guitar humbucker for heavy tones? Well, I'm really enjoying in my Sir crazy guitar here. What the hell is going on here? Tuner just got caught around a cable going to an amp. In this thing, I have a SSH Plus, and that pickup smokes. It's awesome. So I said in this one, Thornbuckers are my jam, for, PAF style thing, but I wanted one that was just give me the face melter pickup in this one. Paint me into that corner and I'll be happy. And sure enough, it's worked out great. It's quite dark sounding, the pickup, as it, you move that resonant peak down, the pickup gets darker, it's louder and it's dark. But into a plexi or something, man, what a cool sound. I was talking about this with Friedman the other day. Like, he's not as crazy about high output pickups into gainy amps because it's just too much. But he likes a high output pickup sometimes into a plexi. And I was like, yeah, I get that. Like, that's kind of the Warren DeMartini thing, or, like a JB into a plexi could be a real cool thing. Maybe that was fair warning. We don't know, but could be. It's a little darker, a little warmer, and smooths out the top end in a way on a bright vintage wild amp is kind of a cool thing. So anyway, the SSH Plus from Sir, really, really digging that sound. Sometimes, though, I do like a ceramic thing, that pickup from that company that I don't mention anymore that starts with D, can be a fun thing. Something like a Duncan Custom. The Frankenstein pickup from EVH or the Wolfgangs, it's good hot, like the Wolfgang guitars sound really good. And it's got that thing going on, that warmth, just kind of, a gainy pickup, be it Alnico 2, Alnico 5, or ceramic can be kind of fun. So I would say, if you're like my favorite, I would say it's because this is the one I'm actually playing as of late. Look how beautiful that thing is. Come on. Come on. Look at that. Ooh, it sparkles. Yes, it does. It's not just black. SSH Plus from Sir. It's like a more friendly JB or something. Yeah. I have no idea what to wire my board with. I've only got 5 pedals. Everybody says they're lowest capacitance. Friedman says 97, 78. Oh, do what Dave says. Do whatever Dave says. I mean, are any of the pedals buffered? Because then it doesn't matter as much. If you've got anything Boss on there, just do a little research and stuff. If you're not, if all your pedals are true bypass and you're like, no, I don't want any buffers and stuff, then you have to really pay attention to your cable capacitance. That's what I would say. If you've got a buffer on the board, then it doesn't really matter as much, and just use any old good stuff. That's the truth. Yeah. For heavy tones, you usually use the gain on the amp or pedal or both. If I want heavy rhythm sounds, there's usually no pedals involved. I'm getting it out of the amp. If I'm going for a lead sound, I'm generally hitting a pedal, and it's usually something Klon style to kind of give me a rounder mid going into the front of the amp and just make it sing like crazy. Yeah. Sometimes a treble booster, though, because I love that sound. Oh, my goodness. Heading down through the chat here. We got 301 online. Great to have you all here. Great to have you all here. Have you heard the new James Durbin album? I have not. What's that all about? Have you heard Kiki Wong? I mean, I just know a little bit about that story. You said you were going to a Beck concert. Not Jeff Beck. Beck, the artist Beck. Not Jeff Beck. The artist known as Beck. I got some good Good laughs to my response to the what the hell? What the hell? Ugh. Okay. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Dude, quit streaming. Oh, it's you again. Oh, here we go. Good times. Good times on Sunday Live. What's my settings on the Plex for EVH? Switches included. The switches won't make a difference because the bright caps do not matter when you're running a volume on 10. So you just have to run input 1 on volume 1 on 10. Doesn't matter where you put the switch. And kind of everything on 10. But you may find you like the sound a little better with the treble back down a bit to like 8. And your mileage may vary as far as the bass control goes. See if it still sounds, you know, he ran everything on 10 supposedly, but sometimes I like to back the bass down to 5 or 4 or off, but try it on 10 and see what you think. So long story short, everything on 10, experiment with backing treble down a hair, bass anywhere, but maybe on 10. Do I have a favorite boost pedal? I've got a few. I really love the Unit 67, it's called, from Drybell. That's on my board. It is a EQ boost compressor Rangemaster style boost all in one. And if you just use a hair of the compression, basically cut a little lows with the EQ, maybe boost a little top, run the clean boost on about 11 o'clock, and then just add Rangemaster to taste maybe 3/4 of the way up. It just gives you this cutting thing going into the amp that just gives you more. That's just fun. So I love that thing. But I really like that Boss booster that I showed you the other day on Quick Ones. I did a little. I'm experimenting with reels and shorts on YouTube, which nobody seems to watch, but I'm experimenting with it anyway. Everybody tells me it's going to be great for my channel, and then I put them up and 1,700 plays in a week later. It's like, well, that was underwhelming. I don't know how to get any traction with it, but I guess I should ask some YouTubers what I'm doing wrong. But anyways, what's another one? The superconductor is one that I've been, I'm building a new little board. So better make a video on that, actually, my new little pedal board. On a Temple board, nice small one, 24-inch wide or whatever, 24, I think. And it's going to have the 4-button Musicom Lab switcher on it. A few small pedals, like mini style, the little Keeley compressor, an Archer. I'm putting the Zelza on there from Strymon for phase and chorus and flange in front of the amp. Also my Anodyne chorus from Providence, because I really love the sound of that. It's in a mono analog chorus. And then I'm putting an Illumine or whatever from Nunaber for a reverb, because it's, deluxe sounding and it's nice and small. And then I'm putting a Boss DD200 for delay on there because it's fairly small, but still programmable. Still programmable reverb, programmable delay. And I'm using the Wetter box from Gig Rig to do wet dry. Or not wet dry, what do they call it? Parallel. That's what I meant. So that I can still do my parallel effects because I love that. So anyways, I'll make a little video on this board. But one of the things I've been putting, I'm also putting a Crazy Tube Circuits fuzz on there. But one of the things I'm putting on there is a superconductor. That's my boost from Crazy Tube Circuits, because it'll do a Rangemaster style boost. It'll also do a full range boost, EP style boost. It's got a bunch of different boosters in it. So I'd like to have a boost on a board that isn't in a loop in the switcher. Yeah, so are you going to put together a masterclass teaching videos series, says Gordon? Just wondering if you're into it. Well, I've been talking about doing this with my friend Dennis's help for quite some time. We seem to be having trouble scheduling when to do it, but I'm working on it. Working on it. Thank you, though. Appreciate that. You say, I truly rock. Thank you. Thanks for being here. E-bars, can you attend an old Marshall 100-watt JMP to bedroom levels? Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what the Power Station does. Best device for that I've found. Yeah. Uh-huh. 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 Okay. Reading through here. Some people don't know that the SYN 5050 can be bridged to be a 100-watt mono. That's interesting. I don't even know if I knew that. I use one side of it sometimes if I'm, just turn the volume down on the other side and don't use it. 50 watts is enough for in here. You know what I mean? Do you ever run your guitar in stereo, meaning 2 amps, especially for stereo effects in the loop? How would you set that up? Yeah, I do it all the time. That's my main live thing. So 1 amp is the main tone generator. And then I take the effects send out of that amp and go into my delays and reverbs and stuff. And that's where the stereo stuff comes from. And then I return back to the main head and then also to the return of a second head. And then those get panned hard left and right in the PA. That's how I do it. Like and subscribe, says Earl. Yes, please do. If anybody's watching, you're not subscribed, please hit subscribe. Come on now. It's tough these days. I need your support. Have you had many 70s Gibsons? Come to think of it, none, to be honest. I've never really bonded with one enough to buy. Now, I would love an early 70s custom, or maybe mid 70s even. Either in, white/cream or a black Les Paul custom. That'd be cool. But I don't really, the Les Pauls from later in the 70s, as the body starts to get weird, like they got the cutaway wrong later on, and the top carve and everything, it just all goes out the window. And I don't really have any interest in those clunky guitars. I feel like deluxes and stuff and from the 70s. I mean, okay, the Adam Les Paul, that's cool. I guess customs with maple necks for the Adam thing from Tool, that's neat. Like, that's a sound. A maple neck Les Paul custom has a deep, different sound that can be cool for metal, I think. It's a different guitar, as soon as you do the maple neck. Kind of cool, but I've never owned one. I've got a lot of different Gibsons I've owned a 50s Les Paul. I had a 54. And I've got Gibsons from the 60s, but trying to think 80s, 90s. I've got a 95 or so Les Paul wine red standard. That was the first sort of good Les Paul I bought, I think. Oh, no, that's not true. I had my 54 before that guitar. I did. What else we got here? Arthur says that he has a Washburn P3. No answer to a Les Paul, except with buzz, feet, and tuning. That's cool. I remember when they were doing that. It's loaded with Jim Wagner pickups. He made some great stuff. Yeah. Let's see here. Question regarding SL67, 68. With the bright switch off and the fat on, does that just make it sit in the super bass realm? Not really. More so. I would say, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're getting there as far as like it's not going to be the same circuit. The super bass has a different tone stack. So you've still got the lead EQ. But yeah, no bright for sure. It gets more broad and less of that Kerrang Marshall thing for sure. When you say very much in the super lead realm, it is interesting how much the bright cap changes things. So like I wonder how much people attribute super lead to that cap, especially if it's the 4700, because that just makes it like it's like twice as much distortion all of a sudden, and way more cutting sounding. So soon as you don't have that bright cap, like yeah, those bass spec ones, they didn't. So it's different, but it's a big change. You can hear it in my videos, I guess, and see what you think. The fat on, I don't even think that was something that, the cap, that's the fat cap, is something that wasn't in a super bass. So it's a kind of a different thing, but it's a cool thing. I guess that would be the way I would set it up if I was trying to get the most super bass spec sound. Would be, yeah, brights off, fat cap in. Yeah. And it is, I would say, substantially a different sound to, like, it doesn't scream lead spec at that point, I would say. When is he going to do a Vox amps in the zone? Oh, I know. AC30 says Simon also. Okay. I should drag that. Okay, right. I've been making a list of YouTube videos to make. So AC30 amps in the zone. Let's just write that down right now. Amps in the zone. AC30. Remember. These sort of passion project videos that aren't work, but more ones that are just fun, where we're nerding. I know what you mean. It's always the most popular kind of video, for sure. Over gear demos and all that, for sure. Unless it's a piece of super hot gear people are really interested in. Yeah. Arthur says he loves this guitar. I do too, man. This is a really fun one. It's a blast. Okay. What made you choose the standard Sir body for your signature? I love them all. The modern wouldn't really be my thing, although I appreciate it. I like it and I have one. But for my signature guitar, wouldn't really be my thing. It's made for a 24 fret neck, so they don't make a modern with a 22. And I'm not a huge 24 fret fan. I don't like where it places the neck pickup as much. So it's okay, but I just prefer the standard 22 or 21 frets even. Classic ass body style, love. There's times where I was like, man, I wish I'd gone that route actually, but I still love this. The standard, I guess the thing with the standard body style, it reminded me of guitars, the Pensacola guitars. So I loved the look of the Mark Knopfler and Peter Frampton and different people I saw with the kind of like the Pensacolas of the 80s, the very first guitars that when we became aware of John and his builds and what he was doing and stuff. And so it just harkened back to that era of those guitars, I guess, this body style. And so I just wanted to do that. Yeah. And then I thought about, on newer signature things, going with the classic, and they kind of talked me out of it. And then I was like, I see why, and I agree. I think it's good to keep, I've been talking about it because we're planning on new things and new stuff coming out and stuff with guitars. But I think it's good to keep a continuity, like update some features and do some different things. But you've got to have, when I think about, the Joe Satriani model, or when I think about the Steve Vai, the Gems, and even the Evo guitar or whatever, there's a continuity to them. They never change the body shape. When you see it, what it is, And so I think you got to look at the most successful signature guitars and realize that what makes them tick, what makes it work, why is that collaboration a success? And that's one of the things I've noticed. Same with, I would say, John Petrucci, although he does have two different body styles now, but for a long time, just one. Lukather. You see the guitar and it's a Lukather model. Generally, if I see an Ernie Ball and it's that body shape with EMGs and stuff, well, I guess he's got his passive pickups now. In the beginning, it was EMGs, but at least that body shape looked like his guitar. Certainly Eddie Van Halen, right? There was a continuity to it. So once I did it, I guess I sort of painted myself into that corner, and I love the body shape. So I just happen to also like the classic body shapes a lot too. So I could easily be happy going that route, but I just decided it's probably not a good idea. you know, to do the different. I think I'd rather like just define it and do different things with this body. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Spirit says, been looking at a building small board around the 2 Notes Opus. It's a little amp modeler, but using the Eventide Black Hole and Triceratops and stereo, but can't figure out how to get the signal to a PA without adding more pedals. Why do you need more pedals? Why do you need, all you need is DIs, or, you know, I mean, you can literally like, you could come out of the Opus and go right into a Triceratops and then into the Black Hole and then come stereo out of, you know, so into the Triceratops, split stereo, then go into the Black Hole, just do them in series, and then straight out into the PA. A couple 1/4 inchers into DIs would work. One way to go. Yeah. Okay. When are you going to make a signature model of the HSS with Floyd and Tuna? So this is all happening. It's been such a soft. There's one fellow here at Brexall that actually has one on order. It's been such a sort of a soft release because it was one of those things that was like oh, there's demand for this, you know. But anyway, so look for this very soon. Info on this guitar. There's demand for it. So and it is a blast, man. It's fun. I love this thing. I mean, if you're a shredder, it's good times. It's a great guitar. It's just killer, like solid and just rips. So anyways, more on that very soon. Very, very soon. Within weeks. Within weeks. Which EVH searching for a Floyd guitar next, torn between Wolfgang or Stripe clone? Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah, I know what you mean. It really depends. I mean, the Wolfgang is obviously more versatile because you got the neck humbucker and you can get in between tones, and they are really nice guitars, you know. If you're used to playing a Strat, the Wolfgang's a little bit of an adjustment with the top on it, and also where it sits on your body can be a little interesting. I sort of sometimes when I'm sitting down playing it, I find it's shifted to the right quite a bit. And that if I'm performing in the studio apart on one that is a little tough, sometimes I need to put it classical guitar style on my left leg. So that's one thing to be aware of, that it kind of is its own thing where it does that make sense? Like, it's just the body shape on it is a little bit unique. And if you're coming from one guitar to it might feel a little offset, and you know, but if it's the only guitar you play, none of that is a concern, right? So you get used to it. So it just depends. And then of course the stripe thing, you know, it's like, are you going to want to play that all the time because it's got the stripes on it, and can you take it and just use it at a country gig or whatever? Or you know what I mean? Does it fit in everywhere? So there's a lot of considerations, I guess. Yeah. My daughter has, for business, we had surgery last year. It fixed it, but they were concerned it might cause blindness, but it resolved the issue. I guess surgery is not as beneficial if you're older. Correct. For a problem like mine, it's going to be cosmetic. You know, it's going to make it so I don't get the comment in the, you know, are you cross-eyed? You know, but other than that, I've lived with it my whole life, and I could kind of care less. Like, you know, I don't know. I guess it's selfish because maybe some people are, you know, it's funny because like I remember going to this coffee shop, and there was a girl that used to work in this coffee shop, and she had it pretty bad, and like maybe a little more severe than me, but maybe it was the same. It's hard. I'm not 100% sure, but I used to look at her and go, wow, that girl's eye is pretty wacky. I think that in my head because this is the crap that we all think as human beings. I'd be like, dude, that's exactly what you look like, you know? And I had to like kind of internalize that and process it. So anyways, true story. But yeah, I don't really care that much. Like, I just don't. I'm, you know, at my age, I'm just sort of like, I don't know. Like, I went to the doctor a little while ago, and they were all like an ophthalmologist. And he was like, you should see our specialist. We have a great specialist here for your business. And I went and saw her, and she's like, oh, you're gonna have to go in and get this MRI done on your head, and we're gonna have to look at the imaging, see what what, you know, and so I made it was like, you make an appointment for 2.5 months from now, because you know how doctor's appointments are. So I make this appointment, and then I'm like, I think I got busy or something. I was just like, I got thinking about it like over the weeks, you know, waiting, and I was like, why do I care? Like, they want me to do it. Like, I don't even care about this. What I really care about it would be getting my floaters removed, you know, but everybody says that's a bad idea. So about to see a flood of comments. Don't do it, you know. Floaters are the crap in your vision, but it can be very dangerous. You can get retinal detachment and stuff like that when they go in there to remove those, or they can damage other things and things. But right now, I mean, it's just like a sea of crap in my vision floating. Often when I'm reading the chat, I have to do this to get the floaters out of the way, but it's debilitating. And I'd love to just be able to see as well, you know, to be able to get a lens replacement done so that I don't have to wear contacts anymore, you know, because they can do that these days when they go in to do essentially what is, you know, cataract surgery, replace your lens. They can put a compensated ones in there that would fix my vision, but also increases the chance of retinal detachments, which guys like me that have really, you know, elongated eyes, which is why I'm so nearsighted, are at increased risk for retinal detachment. So, it's all a big, you know, why do the one that is just cosmetic? It's like, it's all the other stuff you know, the floaters and the vision that I would want to do first and actually put effort into. Or maybe I just get it all done at once. Let's go in and get the full meal deal. I went to an amazing specialist. It's like one of the top guys that does lens replacement in the US. And I asked him, I go, I want to know what you think. Should I get lens replacement done to fix my vision? I want your opinion, because I've had a lot of opinions from people. And I want to hear it from you. And he's like, I could do it. Probably go well. Everything probably be fine. Probably no worries. If you were my brother, I'd tell you to not do it. I was like, okay, for all the reasons he's like, there's still a risk, you know, and you've got one good eye. Really, this one doesn't really do anything. So it's this one. And that's my thinking on the whole, you know, the whole thing. I just, so I do nothing. I just put my contacts in and I just carry on with my life. There's an opinion on YouTube Shorts. Glenn says, I personally never watch YouTube Shorts. Yeah, I don't really either. I watch on Instagram. I don't think unfortunately, you know, nobody's opening. It's a weird platform to have I do it because I'll try it, but it's like, if I put a video on Instagram and then I put up a video on Shorts, it can tend to get 50,000 plays on Instagram and 1,000 on Shorts. 50 times the difference. You know, it's literally, I don't know. Arthur says they'll catch on. YouTube's trying to beat TikTok, so they're pushing Shorts. But how are they gonna? I guess I just feel like it's not like people don't. How do you shift the public perception of what to sign into YouTube for? Like, if I open the YouTube app, I'm not thinking I'm going to get an Instagram-like experience. I'm going to go search out a demo video for something long form, you know. But I'll keep trying. Yeah. What's a good use case for treble boost? Brian May. You know, if you heard Brian May's guitar sound without the treble booster, it would be just mud and not very dirty. It'd kind of be like weak and muddy. And the treble booster just makes it incredible. It's literally like half the tone, you know, like the guitar and the amp is half the tone. And then the treble booster is the other half of the tone. It really is that big. Or Tony Iommi. It's as big a part of a sound as a fuzz would be, you know, it's just in its own way. It's got this searing thing that just boosts into the front end of a kind of a muddy amp in a beautiful way. You can't use it with an amp that's already bright and cutting. It would be an awful sound. But if you run it into an amp that's sort of woolly and dark, the combination is glorious. So it was originally kind of a Band-Aid, you know, I think, designed to be a problem solver for an amps that sounded kind of dark and woolly when you turned them up. And it was like, well, that's less than pleasing, but I want to be able to rock treble boost. And it's like, ooh, and the guitar starts singing and the tone is tighter and it responds just as another fun sort of byproduct of the type of circuit they are. They really respond to the guitar volume controls and the pickup changes. So you roll down on the guitar and just like a good fuzz, all this glass comes into the tone. It sounds amazing. It's how great guitar sounds and parts were created. Alrighty. Can you give a shout out to, Balthazar over at Chicago Fretworks. He fixed my Mark V. Hey, good job. Opinion on the Mark V. I've only heard one, man, in my life, which was Michael Thompson's 25-watt version. I thought it was a pretty cool tone. I thought it sounded good. I know they can be a bit of a nightmare as far as reliability and the, I've seen things about the way they were built where I'm not an amp tech, but people have said, look at this. See that? That's bad. Like with things going on inside. So that's all I know is that when amp techs talk about them, they tend to, roll their eyes a little bit and I don't know. All right. What else we got here? I asked another Gibson guy last night on IG what he thought. Oh, you guys are talking about other things, and you guys are talking about stolen guitars. Guitar thieves suck. Terrible thing. Arthur says that he's loaded treble bleed circuits in all of his main guitars. That really helps bring out the mojo. I'm a treble bleed fan, not in every guitar, but I don't really need it in my vintage style Les Paul stuff and whatnot. But in a Super Strat, they're great. Yeah. Did you ever rock the huge rack thing? Well, sort of. PCM 70 H3000. I never had any of that amazing stuff. I had some boogie stuff. I had a Mesa Boogie studio preamp, 295 tube power amp, and a Digitech DSP 128. So that's not exactly a PCM 70 or H3000. A few years later, I did have a G2, MPX G2 from Lexicon. Pretty good unit. But I missed the boat on that. I was a little young and didn't have enough money for things like H3000 and 2290, which at the time were just like exorbitantly expensive for what they were, but it was part of those sounds. But everybody was kind of going the rack route. So 90s, I had a rack. Early 2000s, I had a rack too. I had a 12 space when I was getting to be pro, and not around 2002 or 3 when I was in 40-foot Echo, I had a Randall power amp and preamp setup, pedal drawer with a bunch of pedals, Rocktron Replifex, GCX switcher for the pedals, stuff like that. But I never was fancy enough to have the 70 and the H3000 and all that stuff. Did I ever own a Fender Super Reverb? No, but I've played through them a lot. Love them. Love Super Reverb and Vibro Verb. Those were probably my two. I mean, the Stevie Ray stuff. So great. Old Deluxe Reverb I used to use in 65 Deluxe Reverb, a real one with Linda Perry a lot. That was an awesome sounding amp too. And I have a 66 Bassman. So that's my one sort of Fender amp of that era that I still have. So I made a video on Super Reverb that was a friend's. It's one of my Amps in the Zone videos. You can check it out. It was a really good sounding amp. Do you have any presets on Cortex Cloud? Not really, no. One of these days I will, though. I plan to make presets for everything. Ever played a Shure Alt-T Pro? I have an Alt-T. It's not a Pro, I don't think. Or maybe it is. Not sure the hollowness is enough to get the 335 vibe. Well, they're more about the kind of Tele Custom vibe. Or what were the Teles in the Tele Deluxe? Tele Custom? Not Tele Custom, Tele Deluxe. What, the Eiffel Teles from the 70s. It was more about that. They do have some air to the tone, though. It's not a 335, though. Nothing will sound like, when you got a glue-in neck and it's that big piece of maple and everything, it's a whole different vibe. 335's got its own mojo going on. Different sound, but some similarity, I guess. There's a little bit of air in the tone and around the notes and stuff with the... I love my Alt-T, actually. It's a red... C3 red one with the black guard and 2 Thornbuckers, and I think it's a great sounding guitar. Really versatile, great rhythm guitar. Yeah. I love you. You guys are all having great, sort of like discussions amongst yourselves here in the chat, which is awesome. It's a good community that way. What's been the hardest conditions that you've ever played live in? You just made me think of Britt, how she had to do a gig last year with Demi Lovato in Austria in the Alps, and it was in a blizzard, and I've never seen anything like it. Even Matt Log, who's my buddy playing with AC/DC now on drums, he commented, "I've never seen this before." And she was playing the gig and had a camera set up behind her, and it was just a snowstorm, and she's playing in like a toque and playing the drums, and it just looks like this blizzard because it was. And so I've never done anything like that. Very wild, impressive. Hardest conditions that I've ever played live in. Oh man. I mean, I've done some pretty hot shows, where you're just like just shirt off and just you're just acquiescent to what's the word, to the heat, just kind of like what are you supposed to do? You surrender. And you're just literally sweat dripping off you're making a puddle on the floor, but that's just kind of rock and roll. Can be hard to play when the neck gets that, and your fingers and the strings, and it's an unpleasant experience. I remember playing once with Kyoshi Negabuchi and Budokan, where I don't know what the deal is with Budokan, but the air conditioning is non-existent. And there was one particular show that we did, and it was being filmed, and you can see, well, I don't know how hard it is to find, probably on YouTube or something, but it was filmed, and I just thought, I almost had heat stroke, I think. Like I felt I was wearing, all in the service of looking cool. I had on this red jacket, but it was kind of hot. And I wore it for about the first 3 songs. And I had to take it off then because I actually felt my body doing something that I've never felt it do before, which was some kind of weird, like, cooling. Like I was so drenched in sweat and playing. And then I felt this just a very weird sensation come over me. And I thought, I think this is bad and I got to get this off. And I just took my guitar off and took that off. And I was just so soaked by like the 3rd song. And I thought I might, if I don't do this, I may pass out or something could happen within the next song that is bad. So that was hard. And if you watch the video of that performance, we look like we're dying, I think. Like Yoshi looks like, I mean, he's drenched in sweat and he's just the poor guy. He's like, he always is anyway, because he's like goes so hard. But we just, the crowd and it's just, you can see the heat in the air, I feel like, and that degree of, and it's just like, is nobody else like, there's certain things that happen sometimes in Japan where I'm always like, they're very logical there, but there's certain things that happen sometimes where I'm very like, is nobody else noticing that this is bad? Like where it's, I get, that's just my own head, my own thing. But I'm like, this isn't like, we need to, like, we can't, and why can't we get this place cooled off a bit? Because this isn't good for the show or the video or anything or any of the people watching. So I remember having that. And that was the hottest show that I'd ever played, I think, was this one at Budokan. Yeah, just kind of crazy. But and I'd played Budokan a few times. I probably played there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I probably played there 8 or 9 times now, something like that. And that was unusually warm, unusually warm. Yeah. Yeah. Arthur says he had floater surgery. He said it really sucked for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden you could see everything clearly. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I think it can be successful. I think there's just a lot of risks, but as boss asked you to demo one of the new katanas, I would. Yeah. Would love to hear your thoughts. I would be happy to, actually. It's a different enough amp from anything I've done recently that I think it'd be really cool to do. I've been going about 2 hours. I'm going to go 2:15 today. So I'll go another 10 or 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so. I have to get MRI every year for headaches. Have an acoustic neuroma, a benign tumor. That sounds scary. Slow growing, but the headaches suck. Sorry to hear that. Options are surgery and losing hearing in that ear. 100%. Not looking forward. Man, it's hard as you get older, right? Like you're faced with these sort of like, well, we can do this or nothing, and this is the, and that's just, I guess, life can be brutal, right? It's difficult, but yeah. Paul says, this is kind of where I'm at on it. Paul says, as far as cosmetic surgery goes, sometimes it really is for what one thinks other people want, or arseholes who make shitty comments. Most people who love you as you are. I agree. 100%. Yeah. 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 Ebar says I used to more, but it's growing old fast. Shorts. I think you mean, I'm not sure if you mean uploading or watching, but yeah, I'm just kind of yeah. Paul says also, I never watch shorts. If I want to watch something, I want to really watch something. That's kind of why I tried to do that shorts. I called it quick ones, like a quick pedal demo where I try and just give you a good idea. And, because that's the other thing. Most people, if they're watching a short, it's going to be on the phone, right? So it's like, they're going to be sitting in front of their computer going to watch a full pedal demo that's 15 minutes long or something. So, trying to show something that I know somebody's going to listen to on their phone. I mean, maybe that means AirPods, but hopefully you can hear the differences. That's the only thing, like in whatever I'm demonstrating. But I like that little format I did, and that video got a lot of views because I think Boss shared it as well. So on my IG, my short got for the Boss booster. Oh yeah, it's at 87,000 plays on IG. So that's pretty great. Totally happy with that. 87,000 on Instagram. Let's see what it did on Shorts. I bet it's like 3.7. So almost 4,000. Almost 4,000 versus 87,000. I don't know. I mean, Instagram is just the format. It's like nobody's going to be fair, nobody's turning on the computer to watch Instagram. Who does that? Nobody. Yeah. Okay. Treble boosted dark amps seem to behave better than brighter amps turned up. I mean, yeah, but a bright amp turned up, it's a fine line. The circuit has to be just right and everything. This is when we get into Marshalls, and bright and distortion is always because bright distortion blows up everything. So it's like, the dirtier this, when you get a distorted signal, things like speakers become really important, and tightness, and because now it's distorted, so it's like it becomes a fine line. Clean sounds or darker are easier and more, less stuff matters. It's like, oh, what speaker is it? Oh, I don't know. It's an Eminence, or it's a JBL, or it's just like, oh, it all sounds pretty good, but as soon as you blow up the sound with some distortion, now you start to really hear the characteristics that humans can find, in the above 1K up to 10K, all this stuff in that range that can really be like, oh, that sounds good, or that sounds like crap, like, you know what I mean? So, it's like a direct guitar can sound good, clean, with some chorus and echo and stuff. Oh, it's direct, it's clean. The direct guitar distorted would sound like awful. Part of what we like about guitar speakers is rolling off that top end, and so that magic, it's interesting. A treble boosted dark amp is kind of a darker sound. Like even Brian May's tone isn't super high-end laden, even though he's using a treble booster. It's real warm. If you think about Tie Your Mother Down or the sound at the beginning, it's not like Eruption bright. It's a darker Alnico speakers, very dark amp sound and stuff, and then you just hit it with it's rolled off at a point where it just is. There's no bright cap involved or any of that stuff, or any or things boosting top end other than that treble booster, which really a treble booster seems to like kind of target a certain like upper mids into the treble and push that, and then lop off a bunch of lows or something, so that it cleans up the sound going into the, so the amp's not getting nailed with tons of low end. It's interesting. It's like, yeah, it's boosting treble, but it's almost like boosting into a sound that already doesn't have any more left to give in the treble. So it's kind of boosting. What you get is mids and upper mids into the treble, and that's it. Not a lot of sizzly presence or anything like that. And lopping off low end, tightening things up, it just kind of leaves the good stuff and accentuates it almost. That's what a treble booster does. And then, whereas when you got a bright amp sound, it's like, there's a lot going on there, and can be a lot of information, and can be kind of unpleasant sounding, I think. So, yeah. He didn't do it that way, but I go for Schenker tones with the treble booster. Yeah, that's interesting, because that kind of, okay, so if you've got a Marshall and it's bright, and now you turn on a wah, well, all you're really doing is you know, mid boosting, and then it's rolling off in the lows, it's rolling off in the top, and you've got this super mid thing then. And yeah, it kind of sounds like the treble booster going at it a totally different way. It'd be like bright Marshall, you know, aggressive 70s Marshall or whatever. Now roll on a wah, roll it back to that magic mid part. Does kind of sound like a treble boosted Vox or something. It's interesting. Fairly narrow sound, you know, where the sound is living, but it really puts the guitar into a range that guitar speakers work in well, because they're not very, you know, it's a targeted thing, you know. Interesting. It's part of what makes the Eddie Van Halen guitar sound so interesting, because it is kind of broad, especially that first album, you know. But it's just so, the balance of everything had to do with, you know, how it was recorded, and then his sort of genius for the way he would dial things, and it's like everything had to be in focus for that sound to work, you know. Hairy, you know. I see a super chat there. Let's grab that. And one sec here. Sorry, I'm sort of far behind in the chat here, but Killer Sunday Show, thanks. Hit the like button. Thanks. Videos this week. Well, most fun one that I've done in a while, I feel like, is coming for this. So please, everybody, watch and share the Bigsby pedal, because this is really unique. There ain't nothing like this thing. For those that just joined, I was showing it earlier in the show. It's a Bigsby tremolo arm in an effect pedal, and you can get tremolo bar effects. You can also get lo-fi modulation type effects with it, and it's just totally unique. It's got its own thing going on. So I'm proud of the video. I had to sit and really get used to the technique of using the with my foot, doing what I would normally do with my right arm on a whammy bar, but it ended up sounding cool, and I'm really happy with it. So that video will be out tomorrow. I'm gonna finish that and put it up tomorrow, so please watch for that. After that, I've got to do a video on this 1987 pedal, which is like a Marshall 1987 50-watt plexi style amp. The White Whale version 2 from Crazy Tube Circuits, the spring reverb. That's coming. Shall we take a look? Show and tell. Let's take a look. It's in this blue box. It rattles probably because it's got a spring in it. This is a spring reverb in a pedal. Let's see what this thing looks like. Comes in a nice bag. Oh, just look at it. I bet it rattles. You can hear a little bit. There's springs in there. Spring reverb in a pedal. That'll be fun, right? Oh, it's a little tough to read the white on blue, but okay. Volume, speed, intensity. That would be tremolo. Reverb, we get volume, dwell, tone, mix, and then there's a switch here that selects long, short, or medium. Fun. The heck are all these jacks? Let's see. We got a expression pedal. That's interesting. Input, expression pedal, remote switching, trem, expression, output. You can do reverb on expression, trem on expression, and then input, output. What was the other one? Remote switching. So you can put it on a pedal drawer or something. Pretty cool. I love Crazy Tube Circuits. I know I always say that, but some of my favorite pedals out there. So that's coming too. Got to happen. And then I plan on doing some videos for, like I say, I want to make a video on the Ibanez Destroyer and Rocket Roll models because they're just fun. I want to make a video on, one thing I want to make a video on, because some guy was like, I can't watch your channel anymore because everything you do sounds too good, and I know you're doing it in post-production, so I can't trust you. So I want to do a video where I literally show you what I'm doing. As far as like, would it matter? Because of course I aim to not make it sound different or mislead. You know, that's part of my whole appeal, I hope, is that I can show you something in an honest fashion, you know, and that you're going to go plug it in and go, oh yeah, that's the sound it makes, you know. So I want to address that, because that's something that, oh, these YouTubers, they're just, you know, fixing everything in the mix or something. So I want to show like a raw guitar track with, like, here it is. I don't know. This is what I'm doing. It's a microphone, and then you turn it up, and then and then it sounds like this when okay, there it is recorded. There's no plug-in. There's no nothing. It's just a microphone on a speaker cabinet with an amplifier and a guitar plugged into an amp. And then show what I would do to that, you know, within the context of a track, maybe like, okay, here's, you know, might high pass it, just get rid of the below 80 hertz because we don't need that rumble. Oh, can anybody even hear that? Probably not. You probably won't notice that. Oh, okay, it's got a little bit too much going on around 190 or 250 or whatever. Maybe I'll just 1.5 dB that a little just to clean it. Oh, okay, you might hear that a little bit. Does it really sound like worlds different than this or this? No, you know, it's the same basic sound, and just kind of address the whole thing, because it sort of pisses me off, you know. All right, I'm gonna split here. Mark Tremonti on your show would be very cool. I'd love to have Mark on my show. He's always been really nice. Met him a few times over the years, and seems like a terrific guy. So if I can make that happen, I would. Yeah. Would you recommend a 2-note captor as an attenuator for a Friedman Plex? My favorite, I always say my favorite reactive load. I mean, you're asking about attenuator. It does have a one-stop attenuator switch in it. I haven't experimented with that on a captor. I'll just say my favorite attenuator is the Sir Reactive Load IR, or the original one. My favorite load box. My favorite attenuation device is the Power Station from Fryette, because both the Sir and the Fryette feature a similar load style that is very, very similar to exactly what a speaker does when you plug it into it and a cabinet. And I feel good about them, and, you know, amp being safe and stuff. Captor is a decent load box, you know, does the job for sure. 100 watt into it, cranked into it, I'd probably go with the Sir, you know. That's just me. Now, I've got a signature, you know, a bunch of Dyne IRs and stuff through 2-notes, and you know, I've got a good relationship with those folks, so it's good. But I just think there's, you know, it's just my honest assessment. Once again, I'm always honest. So lower wattage amps, 50 or no problem, you know, with it. Looking through some more comments here, and then I'm going to split. Sick of you making your videos so damn good when you play the way you play that make things sound good. I love it. Tom says, thanks, Pete. Anybody who shows up and makes this a cool hang, trusty mods, have a great week. I agree. Everybody have a terrific week. I always, I'm sad to go. I don't really want to go, but I'm going to go because I should get some work done. I want to finish the Bigsby video, so I'm work on that. If you could have a super group with any musician alive or dead, who would you choose and why? That's a great question. I mean, I'm sad that I never did more with Chris, you know. That's he's the one whenever he was like, well, who would you like to play with? I'm like, I just want to play with that guy again. But I'm sad that we didn't collaborate more and do some other things, you know, and that I didn't jump on that. So that would be the one, you know, for sure, him. I mean, I just had he was my friend. I had such a good relationship back and forth with that guy. I feel like we could have done, I was always a little, you know, when you work for people, you don't want to like overstep your bounds or whatever. But I wish I'd been more like, can we do something together? Can we write together? Or can we record a track together? Can we just experiment and try something together? Because I'd love to do that with you. I wish I'd said that more, you know, and now, of course, I can't, you know. So I guess the lesson from that for me with Chris and with other people would be like, you have to do it in a way that's not pushy or you're trying to get something out of them. I mean, honestly, with Chris, it's just like I would have loved to have just done that because he was my friend and I felt like we had a good rapport and we were excited about similar things. So it's stupid that I didn't because it was natural. You know, I should have been more like, dude, I've got this riff. I want to send it to you and I want to work on it with you. But there was times where he could just tend to disappear and stuff because he was an artist. So you could put yourself out there and you might not get the answer you wanted, so, and I had examples of that where it was like, maybe I was just trying to protect myself from disappointment. But he mentioned one time, he's like, we were talking about writing songs and he's like, well, for example, if you and I were to write a song together, then whatever, and I thought, is that him opening a door? Like, is he talking about, we should explore that, So I just sort of wish I'd done more, in that, I guess just a little bit, if you guys feel like there's, a situation where I want to do that, but I don't want to, maybe you should jump on it and just do it. If you present it in the right way, that it's like, you're not trying to get somewhere, or whatever, or use their whatever. Cause I certainly wasn't. I was just like, I mean, he used to say it all the time. He'd be like, well, I'm still in a band. I play in a band every night. And that was our band, when he was doing, the solo project. He's like, I still play with these guys and we're like a band. So, yeah, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just do it. Exactly. Like, just figure out a way to, if there's a way to do it, just kind of bridge that gap and make it happen. But, I feel like it could have been really cool. Like, we would have come up with something neat. And, I love writing. So jump on things. All right. Everybody take care. And I will see you guys in a week. Let's see, it's Saturday, or what's going on next week? I got to take a look and just see. I think I'm got no problems next week. 23rd. Yeah, I'll be here next week. Same time, same place. See you on the 23rd for another edition of Sunday Live. And until then, be nice to one another. Have a great week. I appreciate you all. Thanks for your super chats. And it's contributing to the coffee fund around here, which we love because it keeps me going. All right, everybody have a great week. Signing off. Over now.